Please remain standing. At this time, I'd like to call to order the March 24th, 2022 Hamblen County Legislative Body. Thank you. You may be seated.
I'd like to ask everybody that's got a hat on in the courtroom to remove their hats, please.
We have a point of order asking and requesting that if you have a hat on, that you please remove it at this time. Thank you. Commissioners, if you have not already done so, please turn your mics on, and we'll do the roll call at this time, please. Okay, we do have a quorum present, so we are open for business. We have no recognitions at this time, but I want to take the opportunity at this time to ask Mr. Tony Pettit, our construction manager, to come to the podium to answer some questions that was asked during our committee meeting regarding the pilot. Mr. Pettit.
Thanks. So I was requested at the committee meeting to go ask the questions of the designers, and this is the question I asked. Why the additional 8 inches of thickened concrete were not included originally, or what changed that added the additional 8 inches of concrete? So this is the response, and then I'm going to read the response, and we're going to have to expound on that, I guess, if you have questions. If you understand this, you're doing great. So the question is behind pending change order number 9, which is part of your change order. It's field change, that's a drawing change, number 3, as a result of a response to an RFI number 3, which is a request for information from the contractor, dated 1/7/2022. Responded to on 1/18/2022. The drawings associated with the PCO, pending change order, were updated as part and issued as field change 003 on 1/24/2022 in response to the RFI. Here's the answer. There was a conflict noted in RFI between the Geoservices drawings and Mosley's structural drawings relative to the micropile embedment depths. Embedment depths is referring to the embedment depths into the foundations. Upon review and response to RFI questions, it was determined that minimum embedment should be 6 inches as noted on the Geoservices drawings, which affected the clear cover for bottom mat of reinforcing steel. Mosley drawings showed 3 inches of embedment. Geoservices was asked if 3 inches would work, but they responded micropile embedment needed to be 6 inches minimum plus 3 inches plus or minus to the bottom of the compression plate and could not be changed to match the 3 inches.
So basically what I'm hearing you say is there's a conflict over there between
the Geoservices,
and they could not have worked that out prior to, so we would have known.
it was, nobody called it. So.
But how does that become our problem at this point?
So, you're in a competitive bid. I have no good answer, but here's the answer. You're in a competitive bid. The Geoservices guys have got the drawings on the micropiles. They got the design. The concrete contractor, which is the most cost, if you reviewed the change order, most of the cost is in that concrete contractor. He's looking at the Mosley drawings, which only shows a certain depth on those foundations. Now, we just didn't happily say, okay, we like this or we got to do this. We've been through about 4 or 5 different Zoom meetings. We've had Geoservices on site. We've had the structural engineer clutched into the Zoom meetings trying to see if there's a better way of doing that, and the answer was this, we have to do this. So, they bid it competitively off one drawing, and they did not. The drawing shows a certain depth, not the additional 8 inches. You know,
My question, our competitive bidding for us is over.
well, yeah, but that's when the issue, it didn't get caught then, that's when they did it, they didn't have the conflict, we didn't know there was a conflict there, till they asked the question.
And these fellows these companies have built jails before, correct?
Yes,
And it's not being caught.
each design is unique.
Well, you know, it's just like their mistake not catching it, whatever, cost us whatever.
$109,000.
So, yeah.
So,
It looks like it's Mosley's fault, you know, and they should bear some responsibility, for not having it correct to begin with.
there is a conflict in Mosley's drawings.
In Mosley's done these before, and there's a conflict. The question is there a conflict in every jail that he builds? Like this?
I don't know.
Because it seems like he built a lot of jails, he should know this by now.
Good. Okay, still not trying to defend Mosley.
I understand.
But each foundation site, each site is unique, basically from the cells down. Okay, so from the jail cells itself, the first floor slab below, it's kind of a unique situation.
But it shouldn't be. Every jail in Tennessee or the United States, whatever, the site should be the same, from my understanding. I mean, if it takes 12 inches here, it should take 12 inches here, or 8, but it shouldn't be, say, well, if it takes 8, oh, well, now we're gonna do 12, and we'll charge you extra. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Here's one question real quick. When we got this initial bid and it was so high, it came back to us that cost had been cut, and part of that was cutting part of the cost of the micropiles. Is this a result of those cuts?
no, but the micropiles during that issue did get redesigned. There are a whole lot less micropiles in the job now.
And is that why we have to have
No,
stronger
the
micropiles?
cost is not in the micropiles, the cost is in the foundation.
I understand, but is that a result of having fewer micropiles?
No, I can't answer you that question.
How was this caught? I mean, we're good to go, and then they catch it?
There was a question asked about, well, here's the question. We were, constructability rise, they were trying to pour the thickened part of that foundation separately from the mat slab itself. In other words, eventually you'll be able to walk out there and you'll see a waffle on this mat slab. And at each depression is where this extra embedment came into play. They were trying, the contractor was asking if they could somehow pour the thickened part and not pour the mat. And they had 2 meetings, one beginning back in December on that issue. And during those meetings, it came up that the embedment needed to be 8 inches.
December.
I mean, I know we got 2% contingency in there, but try not, I'd like not to use that if we can.
Right.
But the thing of it is, it's like they should have known all that prior to. When I go to the house, I know exactly what I need, you know?
Mr. Petty, is this something, I'm sorry, I got in front of somebody.
Go ahead, I don't want to interrupt you.
Mr. Petty, is this something, I mean, you're a project manager and you're watching over this. Is this something we can expect? I mean, I agree with these gentlemen that the core drilling, everything, maybe this should have been known up front. And I agree with these gentlemen also that maybe we should have brought all the cost of this. You know, is that the way it shakes down? You're our guy. Tell us what you think.
I wish it had been called. I understand how it was not called. There is a thing called and I'm gonna use a legal term, and I'm not a legal guy, unjust enrichment that gets, if it was there, we'd have paid for it.
But my question is, how many more unjust enrichment?
So I know, I've got something I call PITS, which is project tracking issues. And some of these go away, some of these are resolved without money, but we're gonna find a couple more. The one that I know of right now is the edge of slab versus the precast. I haven't got those costs in, but that's one that is drawn incorrectly.
Oh my God, it's time to drop this.
We're not, when the details, you have certain tolerances in the Precast Institute's standards, certain tolerances in the steel erection standards, and the two together, you got to have a way of getting your precast bypassing your steel. It's complicated, but that's coming. You're gonna hear me in the next committee meeting present another change order, but these are for things that are unknowns, like sanitary sewer and stuff like that. This is a different issue.
I understand from the unknown, but now what you're saying is, there's one coming up, it's gonna, well, okay, guys, y'all gonna have to vote for this again, because we're gonna need it. We need the money. But whatever it is, contingency.
Yeah, it was, I mean, eventually you can ask that.
But the thing is, these things should be known.
Should have been coordinated. Yes.
Should have been coordinated.
That's correct.
Right hand's not talking to the left hand, and we're early in the ballgame.
Yeah, this is every time I get on the phone, but when we start turning around going the other way, things will get better, I hope. So, should get better.
Is Geotech, have they finished all the holes they're drilling?
Geotech did just soil exploration.
Right.
Okay, so all those soil explorations, they made recommendations to the structural engineer. They also designed the micropiles. That's been sent to the engineers, structural engineers. That's completed.
That's all set up.
There are micropiles being installed right now. There are just now getting started on.
So you don't anticipate any more Geotech coming back, so you're gonna add more micropiles to it?
No, there may be, there is some micropiles out there that's got, right now they're having an issue with grout. So your bid documents, our bid documents you have a 5 1/4 or 7.5 inch micropile, which is a steel shaft. If you go out there and look through the fence, you'll see them out there drilling those things. Then they fill them with grout. In our bid, we've included 150% of the theoretical volume of the pipe for grout. They're having some issues right now, and the architect and the contractor are trying to resolve that, but they're having issues where that volume of grout is going over. We have a unit price in our bid documents that we pay for anything over 150% theoretical volume, and they've had a couple that went 300 and 350,000. That's coming too, but we're trying to resolve that. We had a meeting day before yesterday, meeting today on that, and still trying to use another product. So, to answer your question, Commissioner Naismith, we're not out of micropile geo stuff yet.
Still come up with a change note.
Yeah.
Do we have any recourse on this, or this is what you're handing us, or they are handing us? Do we have recourse? Do we have anything we can?
Well, I can't tell you that. I can't tell you if you got recourse. I can tell you that it's not gonna be very successful because of that term I said, unjust enrichment. It can be some, I would start it out as a negotiation with the designers and see what they can do there with that. So, this is, it's unfortunate, and we're going to hit it a couple more times. The only one I know of right now is the steel right against the precast. So,
Anybody else have questions? Can I ask Tony at this time?
There was some savings and some other things.
Yeah, that, we were able to meet with the geotech guys and eliminate the soil cement, but on the upper level. And mainly that's because you have that, soil nail wall. And by the time you put that soil nail wall in, you lay back for the other retaining walls, you didn't have any soil cement left. So that saved, that's in the document, was that $80,000 or $100,000 there as a savings. And then we also picked up some savings by changing the brick selection. So that was in that first change.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Some of the questions, Mr. Melvin, some of the questions you're not gonna like the answers, and I apologize.
Thank you very much. Item number 2, nominations and appointments. You have before you a list of individuals that the mayor is recommending that we confirm his appointments to the Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals. On that list, we have Will Slinger, Philip Carlisle, Jerry Horner, Ed Hale, John Allen, Jeff Wilder, Max Cook. The chair would entertain a motion as to whether we confirm his appointments or not.
So good.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, Mr. Doty. All of those in favor of confirming these appointments? Oh, sorry, Mr. D. Smith, you're recognized.
Can you tell me how many times they've met, the construction people have met through planning?
I
Anybody
can
planning know that?
Do you know?
I think last year they met twice.
They met twice last year, Wayne.
Twice last year?
Yes.
I think, now, don't hold me to that, I believe that's what, I believe that's what you said.
All right. Anybody else? Those in favor of confirming these appointments, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion is approved. At this time, the chair will recognize Chairman Jim Stepp of the Calendar and Rules Committee.
Item 3A, approval of consent calendar items. I put that in form of a motion.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent calendar items. Do we have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote the motion, please.
Item 3A, 14 yeas, 0 nays.
The motion is approved. At this time, we would entertain public comments from the audience regarding items that are on the agenda. We do have a request at this time from Linda Noy to speak regarding items 6A, B, G, and D. Mrs. Noy, you're recognized. And she has 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd. 6A, B, C, and D are all in the Finance Committee, and I'll just go in order. 6A is monthly check approval. I wonder how many of you are aware that you are approving checks that have already been printed, cut, signed, and mailed out. This check approval is nothing more than a useless gesture, of which, unfortunately, there are a number. But let's look at some specific checks. As all of you know by now, the county attorney is paid a set fee of $100 a month as a salary to attend finance committee and commission meetings. If anyone doubts that, let me know, and I'll provide you the information, or you can ask, well, the mayor's not here today, but Ms. Hurst has confirmed that. In 6A on the agenda, you are approving checks that have been written to the county attorney for his hourly billings to the county. Not the $100 per month, it's a salary, it's another item. Do you know whether the attorney is also billing you by the hour for attending finance committee meetings? Do you know whether he is also billing you by the hour for attending this meeting? Those are two very important questions that any commissioner who is responsible for county dollars should know. Am I paying someone twice for one service? In fact, do you think the county attorney or anyone should be paid twice for the same service, whether it is attending meetings or removing a tree stump? That is why I asked you at the last meeting to find out whether the county attorney is billing by the hour to attend meetings that he's already paid $100 every month like clockwork to attend. If you don't ask, you don't know. And if you don't know, you may be approving a double of payment to the county attorney for attending those two meetings. And unfortunately, that would make you somewhat complicit in paying somebody a second time with county tax dollars for a job that they've already been paid for. So I encourage you to find out whether you are in fact paying twice. The Justice Center, the Mosley contract, or the Mosley change order. I'd already marked down some of the items that Mr. Pettit has mentioned. I want you to look at your, if you get a chance, and I know you can, whether you do or don't, but he referred to proposed change orders. And he mentioned 1 through 9 at the last meeting. The only ones on this one are for PCO 1, 4, and 9. I think he's answered part of my question. There are all these other change orders that are sitting there ready to be dumped on you and on the taxpayers. I would recommend, for whatever it's worth, that you accept proposed change order 1 and 4, the 2 credits, and that you reject number 9 until you get more information. And I have in mind some of the things you need to know, but I won't waste my time here going into those. But I think there are issues regarding the drawings that could be looked at and possibly answer whether you in fact owe the $109,000 or whether it's right for them to request that $109,000 or not. So you don't have to approve that change order as a lump. You can approve 2 parts of it, get a committee, building and grounds, whatever, and look at whether proposed change order 9 is justified or not. The next item, I'm going to skip 9C and go to 9D. I think you have received something that said you have a contract in front of you for Summers and Taylor. Unless the mayor gave you something more than I have seen, you have a bid proposal, and there are items in that bid proposal, and it's not a contract, and you haven't had the contract for 10 days, but items in the bid proposal that are illegal.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else who wishes to address the commission? You have 3 minutes.
Edna Green, 4981 Cameron Road. I went through some of the county billings for the attorney today. And my question for you folks are you good stewards? Do you watch the taxpayers' money that you are spending? Because you're not spending your money, you're spending ours. Now, some of you have been extremely good stewards, and I'll say thank you up front. In 2018, I filed a lawsuit against the county attorney for double billing. And as I went back over these bills, I could not tell if he was still charging to attend hourly the commission and the finance meetings. His billing needs to be a little clearer. If I didn't do no better than that on itemizing my tax customers' accounts, they wouldn't be happy with me, okay? Again, you need to be more conservative. He receives $100 a month to attend the meetings. I don't get paid twice for the same tax return. Do you get paid twice for the same job? If you do, please let me know what it is. I'll jump in and go with you. Because I love the aspect of cheating somebody that much. And that is what it is. It's cheating, stealing, fraud, whatever how you want to describe it. And again, you folks are supposed to be good stewards. So are you asking the question? Are you looking at the money? Do you question any of it? I've never heard one of you the whole time I've been here, especially my representative, question those bills. All I've seen is vote. Yeah. You just need to start saying no. You just need to start questioning. If that was your money you were spending and not ours, I think you'd be a little more particular. Now, I gave each and every one of you a copy of that lawsuit, with the exception of Mr. DeBoer, and I emailed him his, so that I know every one of you have a copy of exactly what I'm talking about tonight. And just so you know, other than that man right there and Mr. Neesmith, not one of you sent me a question. Not one of you asked anything. What are you doing? Are you being good stewards? Election's not that far away. Are you being a good steward? For some of you, I can be happy to answer the question. For some of you, I am so proud of you to stay in there, hang in there, do what's right. I am proud of you. And hope to God they put you folks back in that have stood repeatedly when it came to the referendum votes, that stood repeatedly when it came to the $103 million. Wait a minute, I got that wrong. He just corrected me a few minutes ago. I think he said another $109 million on top of that. What are you doing? Wake up, please.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have anyone else who wishes to address the commission?
Chairman, I recommend you remove that, please. You need to remove that.
Is that in the rules? I didn't see that in the rules. This is not a court. Yeah, there's also, it says no photography in here, and photography is allowed. This is not a court. This is used for a public meeting.
He has no respect for anyone on this panel, so let's not make an issue out of it. The issue can come up later on in a court of law. Okay, thank you.
I look forward to that. So, since you bring up respect, you all know that government property cannot be altered, cannot be destroyed, and cannot be built without it going through these commissioners. Friday, I was here looking at records. I noticed this has to do with the Hale House. It has to do with the Hale House. It has to do with the Hale House.
The parking lot.
It has to do with the Hale House. Yes, the parking lot as well. Yes. So you all spoke about getting bids for the parking lot. But there has been a building that was destroyed there last week by the maintenance company that was not discussed here at the meeting. So you all are the ones that are authorized to demolish any kind of government object, no matter how simplified it is. It goes through you. So I'm curious to know, how come we didn't talk about knocking that building down? We spoke about a different building, but never a word in regards to that building. I'd like to know who authorized the maintenance crew to demolish and get rid of that building. Second, I'll take that up the next time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else who wishes to address the commission?
Good evening, y'all. Chris Black, 7335 Hamblen Circle, Talbot in 13th District. Tonight I'll be addressing item 6C. Today, I stand before this body to bring in a matter of extraordinary importance to your attention relative to Resolution 22-07. If adopted, this measure will further saddle Hamblen County taxpayers with the responsibility of assuming public debt in the millions. A municipal bond is a debt security issued by, in our case, a county to finance its capital expenditures. They can be thought of as loans that investors make to local governments. General obligation bonds are municipal bonds that provide ways for state and local governments to raise money for projects that may not generate a revenue stream directly. They're called general obligation because they aren't backed by a specific revenue-producing project or asset. Instead, they're backed by the full faith and credit of the issuer. In essence, this means that bonds are backed by state and local government's ability to tax and to raise taxes, and if necessary, to pay bondholders. For local governments, this normally comes in the form of property taxes. But wait, didn't Mayor Britton and County Commission say that they have no intent of raising our taxes? If you're thinking that something sounds a little bit fishy here, you're absolutely right. According to Claire Gorham-Cohen in an article titled Analyzing Government Credit, local governments have always been dependent upon property taxes to finance their operations. As is customary with general obligation bonds, this county government establishes language providing for the levy of a tax for the payment of principal, premium, and interest thereon. The resolution further states that the bond shall be payable from unlimited taxes to be levied on all taxable property in this county. For the prompt payment of the principal, premium, and interest on the bonds, the full faith and credit of the county are irrevocably pledged. Last October, Britton said in a presentation to this commission that he made it clear that financing for any additional project will require additional revenue. As we know, this government is slated to begin numerous projects within the next few years. Whereas these projects will consume the county's debt capacity until 2034, it is evident that some type of tax increase is on the horizon. Rather than weather the political ramifications of a tax increase before the general election, it is evident that Mayor Britton and this Republican-led county commission would rather kick the proverbial can down the road by issuing general obligation bonds in the immediate term, followed by a property tax increase post-election. Using municipal bonds as a means of cushioning the financial situation that this county finds itself in is akin to using a boulder as a cushion when you fall. By assuming additional debt, county government is saddling your family, your neighbors, as well as future generations with the responsibility of standing good for its spending. When final bond payments are due, I will be dead and in the ground, Mayor Britton will be dead and in the ground, and so will you on this commission. Ultimately, you are charging future generations that will bear the brunt of the decisions made tonight. According to tables provided by the State Comptroller's Office, gross public debt will exceed $98 million with this bond resolution's passage. Is this really the best that our allegedly conservative government can muster? I would hope not. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have anyone else who wishes to address the commission regarding any items that are on the agenda? If not, then we'll proceed with our business and close public comments. Chairman Reggie DeBoer, of the Finance Committee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On item 6A, the approval of the monthly checks, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Commissioner Neesmith, you are recognized.
How long have we been approving the monthly checks after they've already been paid? How long has that been going on?
30 years.
Not to me, approve it after they've done been paid. Recourse after they've done been paid. You don't have one, do you?
Rules.
And the next question was, who checks the invoices when they come in? If they're, like these people talking about double charging, who does that?
We have an account payable clerk who,
Account payable.
first, when the bill comes in, it goes to the department head, and the department head signs off that they received the product or the service, and they sign off and okay payment. And then the payables clerk.
Is that Jeff or Dwayne Fox?
No, Rachel Callison is our payable clerk.
Who?
Rachel Callison.
So you see no immorality the way it's been done, if they've been double charged or not?
No, she checks. We have a purchase order process, and first the department head has to get the quotes if it's over $1,000, or do the bid if it's over $10,000, and then a purchase order is issued. And at the purchase order process, that's when it's checked to see that there's enough money in the line item to pay for the product, okay? And then the order is made, and then when the product or service comes in or is completed, and we get an invoice, then the department head okays it, and then it's paid by the payables clerk.
So if they're double bid, it would be caught.
Sure. We've done that before.
Anyone else who wishes to address the motion? If not, then let's vote the motion, please.
Yea, 1 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 6B, Justice Center change order number 1, I put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second? There is a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion then, I assume that we are ready to vote the motion. Let's vote the motion.
Yea, 3 nay.
The motion is approved.
Vote them out.
Item 6C, Resolution 2207, Hamblen County 2022, bond resolution, I'll put that in the form of a motion.
All right, we have a motion. There is a second. Any discussion?
Is that the, which bond is that?
That's the $50 million bond.
That's the one I have to make the recommendation, I think that's 72 million.
A recommendation, a modification of the bond to 72 million.
All right, we have a motion to amend the original motion, changing the 50 million to 72 million. Is there a second to that amendment?
I'll second.
Okay, we have, did you get that? We have a second. Commissioner Doty, no, Commissioner Eastman, you are recognized.
This increase, this is the first I've heard of an increase. What's this increase for, from 50 to 72?
Yes.
I think what this is about, Wayne, is the Fed announced that there would be probable 7 increases to the interest rate this year from them, and interest rates are expected to go up because of that. All of the business cycles are saying that they expect it to go
It's
up.
already started.
It has, but they're expecting it to go up astronomically, actually with the 7 increases, and we're just,
We
myself,
need to get the biggest bang for our buck that we can.
get ahead, that way we're not paying as much a high interest rate. If we wait months down the road to do another bond issue for this extra, chances are we're gonna be paying a much higher interest rate.
Okay, Thomas, let me ask you, are we gonna take this money now, or are we gonna wait until it goes back up again before we take any of it?
We'd have to take it now when we do this bond resolution. We'd have it in our accounts that we could use to pay out with at a lower interest rate.
So this 72, we got it for 50, so we got 72, we got 22.
Mr. Chairman, Chris Bessler from Cumberland Securities is here. He can address a lot of these questions.
Okay, Mr. Bradshaw, is it okay for you to hold your comments until Mr.
Yes, I was gonna actually address Mr. Bessler.
Thank you, Commission. Chris Bessler, Cumberland Securities, Knoxville, Tennessee. As I understand, what the proposed amendment is taking what was already scheduled to be issued. So the previous schedule that was already presented in front of Commission last October was to issue the bonds that were issued back in December, come in this summer, issue $50 million for the Justice Center, in the fall do $22 million for the elementary school, and then in early 2023 to come back and finish up the remaining $25.4 million for the Justice Center. So all in all, that's a total of $97.4 million. The reason it was spread out was to go ahead and take the money as you were gonna be spending it and not go into debt for money that you didn't need to spend too early. Now, with the economy, the change in rates, as everybody has spoken about, the question started coming up at the committee meeting early last week. Should the counties consider combining the issues, going ahead and moving up the fall issue, or even look at the spring issue from next year, the final 25 million, and do it all at one time? And so this would just move up the September issue for the school system. It would still leave the other 25.4 million out there for early next year. The commission really would need to make the decision on whether or not to just do only 50 million right now and stick with doing 22 million in the fall and 25 million in the spring, and take whatever the interest rate risk is at that time. If rates go up, then you just pay a higher rate. And looking over the numbers, though, I can tell you that if rates move up more than about 40 basis points, 1 basis point, just to speak in normal terms, 1 basis point is 0.01%. Okay, so 0.01% is what's considered 1 basis point. If interest rates move up on average more than 40 basis points or so, then you would have been better off to go ahead and issue all of it right now compared to waiting all the way through next spring.
When you say all of it, do you mean the 72 or the entire?
Actually, I mean all of it.
All of it.
Yeah. So, for instance, if you had a rate movement from, say, 3.5% to 4%, then you would look back on it and say, we should have done it.
So, if we were to move forward right now with this 72 million, realizing that the Fed, I understand, is looking at 25.25% increments, raising, as Thomas said, throughout the year. If we only did the 72 now, what if in early fall we looked at the rest of it to see where we're at? I mean, it maybe only rise another 0.25%.
Right. We can't predict where it's going to go. So one of the things, I mean, it's basically a matter of risk tolerance. Okay, it's a matter of risk tolerance because we don't know where rates are going to go in 6 months and 9 months. You know where rates are now. They're around pretty, it's not as low as it was the last couple of years, but from a historic basis, if you're locking in your debt at around 3.25%, that's a pretty good rate historically. So you have that bird in hand on your risk, and you take that off. Now, what do you give up for that risk removal? What you have to give up for that is that you're paying interest on money you're not spending down yet.
And you feel that what we're going to be paying when it's just sitting there is more valid than waiting for a higher interest rate?
I'm sorry, could you repeat
Well,
that?
if we take the money now, or we issue the bonds now, the interest rate we pay today will overcome paying a higher interest rate later.
Right. If rates go up by 40 basis points, then you would come out ahead by doing it all now compared to waiting.
And if you look, Chris, at the what's happening in the world and what's happening with interest rates and stuff like that started moving up a little bit, it scares me to think that we're going to wait and borrow this money later when the interest rates go up. If we borrow the whole thing right now, we know what we have to pay. We know what we got. Now, whether it goes up or down later, I doubt very seriously it's going to go back down with the way the world's going. But I think we'd be smart to do that. And Bill, I'm sorry. If we borrowed the whole, could we afford that?
Yes, we've got the revenue stream to pay the debt.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Commissioner Neesmith, you're recognized.
This 22 million, that goes for the school. Is this school project still a go? Got the building over on Martin Luther Boulevard?
They've already bid the earthwork, and it's going on and starting any time. And I contacted Dr. Perry today, and he said they're moving forward with the plans and to bid the project this spring.
Okay, what about before they were gonna have an exit that could go up the side of Roger Trench and come out on Sulphur Spring, but that's been fixed as emergency use only. What about the the way that people are gonna get out of the school now. They still gonna have to come down and, on the main road, or?
I think there's still some work that needs to be done between the city and the school system on that exit on Sulphur Springs. I don't know that they can limit traffic on a public street like that. So that's an issue that has to be negotiated between the city and the school system.
That's a public street corner, but it is.
It's a public street, yes.
Mr. Doty, you're recognized.
Mr. Mayor, just one quick question. On these bond issues, is there not a time frame that we have to use that money by? Mr. Besser may be able to answer better.
There are certain rules and restrictions guiding how quickly you have to spend down the proceeds. Yes, you are correct on that. And part of that depends on also how much interest you're earning on the bond proceeds versus what you're paying on it. And if you are paying less than what you're, if you are earning less on your bond proceeds than what you are paying the bondholders, it's a little bit more lenient in the way that works out. And that would be the case here. Generally speaking, you have 2 years with certain benchmarks that you have to meet from the closing date of the bond issue. Based upon the expected spend down for the Justice Jail Center, this should fit right into that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else who wishes to address the amendment?
Mr. Chairman, could I address the mayor one more time, please?
You can what?
Address the mayor one more time?
Yes.
Okay. Bill, on this, if we issue this entire bond issue, we're just bumping up our payment schedule, correct?
Correct.
Okay, but this has already been entailed in our long-range budget funds, our budget for repayment, correct?
These numbers of bonds, the 92 million, were part of the financing plan we
Exactly.
submitted in October, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 97.
All right, I'm sorry, Chairman. We have a motion to amend the original motion by changing 50 million to 72 million. That has been moved and seconded. Any more discussion on that amendment? I know there's been some discussion about the whole total amount. If you're going to go in that direction, I think another amendment to the amendment would have to be in order.
Could I just amend my amendment? Could I just amend it? Motion
Good.
for the whole thing?
You're amending the amendment.
Yeah.
It probably would be better for somebody else to make that amendment. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we amend the first amendment to include the additional $25.4 million. Is that correct, Mr. Bessler? On that total?
That is correct.
All right, we have
a total of $97.4 million for bond issue.
Okay, we have an amendment to the amendment to change the 74 million to 97 million? 97.4. Okay, is there a second to that amendment to the amendment? All right, Mr. Horner seconds the amendment. Any discussion to the amendment to the amendment? If not, then we're going to vote the amendment to the amendment of changing the original amendment from 74 million to 97.4 million. Call the roll, please. This is off the board, so let's call the roll.
Jeff Aker,
No.
Chris Cutshaw,
Aye.
Randy DeVore,
Yes.
Thomas Doty,
Yes.
Tim Goins,
Aye.
Bobby Hahn,
Aye.
Tim Horner,
Yes.
Joe Hutzman,
Yes.
Eileen Arnwine,
Yes.
Mike Reed,
Yes.
Wayne Neesmith,
No.
Howard Shipley,
Yes.
Jim Stepp,
Yes.
Taylor Ward.
No.
11 yeas, 3 nays.
Okay, the amendment to the amendment has passed, and so, we're back to, it's getting a little bit hairy for me here, but,
Original motion.
we're going to go back to the, original motion, and the original motion has been changed to 97.4 million. Any discussion on the original motion? If not, then this is on the board, and we can, there's no discussion. If you're in favor of the amended original motion, please, vote the motion at this time.
Yeas, 3 nays.
The motion is approved.
Item
As amended.
Item 6D, the bid tabulation 2022, 01 to 2022, construction of new parking area. I vote that we set aside the 10-day rule and approve the bid and the contract. And I put that in form of a motion.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to set aside the 10-day rule, approve the bid and the contract. Is there any discussion?
So you're disallowing the 10-day rule, a rule we've got, a 10-day rule.
We're setting it
contract.
aside.
We're gonna set that aside.
His motion is to set it aside
Okay.
for this particular, contract.
Do you have a contract?
Mr. Neesmith,
Do we have a contract with them, a regular contract, or just one like it's in my packet?
It's in that's it, that's the bid proposal.
That's not a
It's
contract.
bid proposal.
That is the agreement between us and the contractor.
The bid proposal is a contract?
No.
Look on page 2 and see if there's not there should have been a packet that was at your seat, which had the whole history with the revision, from the
Yeah, I've got it.
terms and conditions. That's the agreement.
It said bid proposal.
That's the agreement that Summers and Taylors uses, and that's what we'll use as.
Agreement, but not a contract.
It is the contract that we'll use. That'll be the legal document.
Has your attorney looked at it?
Yes, he has.
Wow.
Ms. Noe,
Okay,
public comments are over with.
I'm trying to save you.
Okay,
No.
anyone else who wishes to address the motion? I need to remind you that in order to set aside the 10-day rule, this would require, 10 votes. So, are you ready to vote the motion? Vote the motion, please.
Both at the same time.
Item 6D, 11 yeas, 3 nays.
Okay, the motion is approved.
Item 6DI, number 1, demolition of the maintenance building. I put that in form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing, Commissioner Neesmith.
Is this to send it out for bid, Randy?
Yes.
Has it been checked for asbestos, that old building?
Yes, it was a year ago, and we've already contacted an abatement company.
Does the money gonna be in, how much you talking about?
It'll be in that, $325,000 that we set as a budget for the pavement and for the demolition and the removal of the asbestos.
Anyone else who wishes to address the motion? Hearing none, let's vote the motion, please.
Item 61, 12 yeas, 2 nays.
Okay, the motion is approved.
Item 6E, Budget amendments, number 1, Hamblen County Board of Education. Budget amendment number 5, increase of $92,921.44, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's vote the motion, please.
Item 61, 14 yeas, 0 nays.
The motion is approved.
Item 6E2, Fund 101, this is for other facilities maintenance. It's a HVAC system for Judge Boniface, and I put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote the motion, please. Mr. Neese, thank you.
Item 6E2, 13 yeas, 1 nay.
The motion is approved.
Item 6E3, Fund 101, other public safety, Homeland Security grant for $22,000. I put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Mr. Neesmith.
What is this grant, Randy? 22.
Homeland Security grant.
Mr. Chairman, if you want me to
Yeah,
respond to that, that's the annual grant that we apply for from, it's a federal money, Homeland Security through the state of Tennessee. We get about $20,000 to $22,000 a year, and it's used for purchases for public safety agencies across the county, and we alternate it among the various public safety agencies.
Is it a matching grant?
No, it's 100%.
Free from that.
Anyone else who wishes to address the motion? Let's vote the motion, please.
Item 6E3, 14 yeas, 0 nays.
The motion is approved.
Item 6F, approval to allow new owners of the boat dock to develop and expand the parking lot, and I put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion. Oh, this is off the board, I'm sorry. We have a motion, do we have a second? Who made the second?
I did.
Oh, thank you. Thomas, Mr. Neesmith, you're recognized.
Will they be paying for the removal of that bank that they're gonna fix? We're not out any money.
That everything.
The agreement is the agreement that the agreement is that the development or the expansion of the parking lot, doing the earthwork and the gravel will be paid by them, yes.
Okay. That parking lot, we'll widen the road there, so you can park on the left-hand side going down before you get to the parking lot.
Yes.
That will be wide.
Anyone else who wishes to address the motion? All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Board. At this time, the chair will recognize Chairman Kim Goins of the Public Service Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. I call the Public Service Committee to order. Anybody wishes to speak?
You need to deal with the motion.
Oh, sorry. Resolution 22-08, resolution to adopt various international codes. I put that into form of a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let's vote the motion, please.
Item 7A, 13 yeas, 1 nay.
The motion is approved.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Goins. We appreciate that. At this time, the chair would entertain public comments regarding any items that are not on the agenda. We do have 2 requests for 5 additional minutes. Mr. Flummeyer, You're recognized at this time.
Todd Fromeyer, 1212 Hodge Drive, Morristown, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. On that bond thing, I think you probably made the right call, because money-wise, that's okay, but you wouldn't have been in that position if you hadn't screwed up the jail. But to my comments, I want to address the budget in the jail. First, I attended the Ambulance Authority Board meeting yesterday and heard the presentation from Director Danny Housewright to the board. I understand Director Housewright may have met with Mayor Britton today on the future of Morristown Hamblen EMS. I came away from the meeting more convinced by the director of the urgency of the matter than the board was, unfortunately. They're going to have a meeting next Wednesday at noon to follow up. I plan on being there, and I think as many of you as possible ought to be there as well. The state of our EMS is dire, and I believe it's going to require funding from County Commission, City Council, or both. Bottom line, the EMTs need to be paid more. The work here is busier and more stressful than in neighboring counties, but the pay is less. The EMS is losing people at an unsustainable rate. I was talking to my wife about this matter and the fact that I was going to speak on this tonight. She's an OBGYN and works with the EMS frequently. I hear from her about the difficulty she has in getting patients transported at the hospital. She praises all the time how the EMTs and the folks responsible for transport go above and beyond the call of duty, but they're stretched too thin. As I understand it, our EMS has 12 open positions right now. The only way we're going to keep from losing more people and to hopefully start filling some of those empty spots is to pay them more. We have the lowest pay in the region for our EMTs. Director Housewright sees this and he wants to increase their pay. The board yesterday, though, dithered and put the decision off a week. Budget season is coming up. So I want to urge you and the mayor and the city to get together and save our EMS. However it needs to happen, you need to make sure that these men and women get competitive pay. Give them a reason to stay here in Hamblen County. Second, Hamblen County, unfortunately, like a lot of counties in Tennessee, has a cash bail system that ends up trapping poor people in jail because they cannot afford to purchase their release. The judge and judicial commissioners in Hamblen County routinely impose unaffordable cash bail amounts. In a county where 1 in 5 residents lives below the poverty level, these money bail amounts are essentially detention orders. Now, I'm sure we're all aware of the state of our jail. The national coverage of the atrocious conditions over there have been a black eye for Hamblen County. How that's brought us, and that's brought us to this discord over the $100 million jail. I think you can draw a direct line in the jail conditions and the back-breaking debt of this new Justice Center back to our cash bail system. Certainly, at least, I believe that part of the overcrowding at the Hamblen jail is a direct result of that system. So consider this, please. If your criminal justice system is running the way it should, cash bail would only be one part of the system for how you deal with people accused of crimes. The default should be for those accused of crimes to be released on recognizance because they have local ties or based on other factors. Instead, what do? We prop up the bail bond industry and assign bail in all cases. And yes, I said all. In case you didn't know, the Vera Institute of Justice did a study and found that Hamblen County was one of only 25 out of 95 counties in Tennessee that reported 0 releases on recognizance in 2019. I think not coincidentally that February 2020 is when we were sued for our cash bail practices. So I want to look at the implications for the Hamblen County taxpayer because of this, where we've got the $100 million Justice Center, which might have been avoided if this problem hadn't been going on for many years. We've got a cash bail system which detains more people than it should, and for longer than necessary. That's not free in money or in manpower. Insurance premiums are going to rise, right? Because it's the attorneys for the insurance company that represents the county that's representing those Hamblen County officials who have been sued and are embroiled in this so far 2-year-long class action lawsuit. And when the defendants lose, which they probably will, there's a good chance Hamblen County could be paying their attorney's fees. Or, I don't know, maybe it comes from the insurance company. In any case, that's going to impact Hamblen County taxpayers. And I would just suggest for your information, if you're looking for a comparable case, Giles County, Tennessee had a similar case to the one that's been brought against Hamblen County. They lost, and their plaintiff's attorney's fees were in the 7 figures. So again, what I would say is budget season is coming up, commissioners, and I hope that you will take into account this unconstitutional system that we have running in Hamblen County and the costs that it is imposing on the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Ms. Noe has also requested 5 minutes, so you're recognized at this time.
Thank you. So many things have happened in this meeting that just raise more and more questions. You approved what was called a contract. Just because you call it a contract doesn't make it a contract. And if our attorney did look at that, and I would appreciate it if he would address that. I know the mayor said he looked at it. I would very much like to know that, and I think you should know that, whether this proposal has been reviewed by the attorney. The other thing is the health department contract. Remember the one you approved last month, 2/24/20, without setting aside the 10-day rule, without having a contract in hand? You cannot make this stuff up. We approve contracts we don't even have. And we set aside the 10-day rule on contracts for bid proposals. When are you going to follow your rules? You're worried about a hat. How about being worried about hundreds of thousands of dollars, or as Mr. Frommeyer mentioned, millions of dollars? You sat up here and ignored and wouldn't allow Mr. Neesmith 15 minutes to present a proposal, to look at it, to consider it, that could and probably would have saved as much as $30 million or more. Now you're worried about borrowing money. I'd love to have to borrow $30 million less than what you're talking about. You talk about, again, the health department. Unless something has come in the last 2 days, you still don't have a health department contract that you approved in February. And I would still maintain that that vote was invalid, and the mayor has no authority to sign that. And he can do what he wants to do, but we'll see how that comes out. The other item is you mentioned rules. And of course we were concerned about hats. And I will tell you, Tony, I wish you'd take your hat off. That's my personal preference. But you have refused to follow your own rules, important rules. And you're worried about a hat. How about being worried about $105 million? How about being worried about contracts that you don't even have in hand, but you go, oh, let's approve it, whatever it is? You would not do that with your own money. Or if you would, as Ms. Green said, I want to deal with you. Your Rules Committee has not met in a year, over a year. Well, actually, 1 day less than a year. You need to meet and you need to decide, do you have rules or not? Are you going to follow your rules or not? Or are they just a bunch of pieces of paper? Just when you think of the magnitude of this, just like so many of you voted against a referendum. You don't want to let the people vote, and now you're out passing out cards, putting up signs, asking the people, oh, vote for me. It takes a lot of nerve to tell people, I don't care about your vote except every 4 years.
Amen.
I'm going to mention just one other thing. The library. And I'm so sorry you have that cough. The library. Did you know that you had 3 quotes above $10,000 in January for the library? And then miraculously, one of those bidders submitted a revised bid in February that was $99,989. $11 below the bidding threshold. Now, I respect that company. They're an outstanding company. But that is an interesting situation that should be looked into. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have anyone else who wishes to address the commission on non-agenda items only? You have 3 minutes.
Edna Green, 4981 Cameron Road. You folks talk about your rules, okay? I was one of the people that you voted to sue because you didn't like my shirt that I had on that night. Then you set aside the 10-day rule that was put there for the protection of the citizens and to help you folks. And you just set it aside like it's nothing. You want to push certain rules, but you don't want to abide by it all. How do you folks that go along with this sleep at night? You're not serving the citizens. You put your signs out, you put your flyers out, you tell people, let me come talk to you. I'll explain to you why I voted that way. Well, I'd love for my commissioner to come explain to me why she voted that way. Because I've been here through most of the meetings, and I think I know. She didn't listen to Mr. Pettit. She's sitting there too busy flipping through a book. And I'm not criticizing, I just believe respect is something that needs to go both ways. Now, some of you folks I highly respect. Some of you I question your ability to earn that respect. I was taught coming up, and I'm older than some of you. I'm younger than some of you. Mr. Huntsman and Mr. Neesmith are a little bit older than I am, and I respect their age. I think Mr. Taylor might be about my age limit. But I was taught that we earn our respect. You folks need to wake up and earn your respect. You need to vote to represent the citizens of Hamblen County, not your buddies, not your friends. You need to take care of the citizens' money. Now, I, for one, consider that my great-grandchildren will be paying for this jail. I was in high hopes that my children would move back here when they retire. But at the rate you're going, the property taxes are going to be so high, I seriously doubt that they can live in Morristown. And that is a shame and disgrace since they went through Hamblen County schools, Walker State College, and then on to UT. It is a shame that our children have to go outside of Hamblen County to work because things are like they are here. You folks need to wake up. Now, some of you care, and I'm proud of the ones of you that have stood. I can name you, but I'll be good tonight, and I won't do that to the rest of you because it might make them feel bad. But for you that have stood for us, I am so proud of you, and I hope to God they put you back in because you are desperately needed. Some of the rest of you, I hope to God that you have a landslide loss and people let you know how they feel about you. Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to address the commission? Yes, sir. Non-agenda items only.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Shipley. Chris Black again. Y'all know my address. I'll tell you if you want me to tell you again, but I want to speak from the heart. And this is hard as heck to do. I've known most of you since I was a kid, all right? And the problem I have today, and I know non-agenda items only, but I've got to say it, $97.4 million. Are you kidding me? I am 32 years old. I have a little sister who's 17, lives in Mississippi. I pray to God that one day she'll come to live in Hamblen County because I know what a great community it is. But this hurts. This hurts. It really does. You know, without getting too political, and I'm really going to try not to, I was a Republican until about, good Lord, I guess 8 weeks ago. And there's a reason why I can't call myself that anymore.
I understand.
Y'all have made it so dadgum hard to align myself with a party that I love, with people that I love. Commissioner Huntsman, I love that man like a brother. I really do. I can remember going to Republican Party meetings, walking up to him and, a hug and a handshake and just talking about life. I can remember Commissioner Ford, who's no longer here on this commission. That man is like a granddad just about to me. I love people in the Republican Party, and I still do. But I can't believe what you guys are doing. I'd call somebody a dadgum liar if they would have told me that y'all were going to, honest to God, drive us almost $100 million in gross public debt. Now, if nothing else comes out of what I'm trying to do politically, I'm going to make sure that the people of Hamblen County know the truth. If it kills me, going door to door to over 65,000 residents, they're going to know the truth. They're going to know what you've done. They're going to know what you're doing. They're going to know why they need to elect somebody with a little bit more common sense than what I'm seeing out of y'all. Y'all darn near brought me to tears. That kicks me off. I tend to think I'm a pretty strong guy, but not so much anymore, I guess. And it's sad that it's taken this to get me so mad.
Amen.
Y'all really screwed the pooch on this one, as my granddad used to say. I can't believe it, but if nothing else, y'all are banking on the Biden economy, and y'all are Republicans, and y'all be ashamed. And I know that some of my Democratic buddies are going to say I shouldn't have said that, but they know I'm a conservative, and they know I'm a proud Democrat. Now, may God bless you. Take care.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else who wishes to address the commission on non-agenda items?
My name's Ann Horner. I live at 1535 Panther Creek Road. The clown show just gets better and better every time. Everybody here is not a clown, but I think y'all know who the people that I'm referring to. And the truth has really come out tonight. So much truth that you all should be ashamed of. Not all of you, but the majority of you. And since we were quoting scripture earlier, I would like to quote the words of my Savior from the book of Luke, chapter 12. And was Jesus not the Word? He was the Word. He is the Word.
Amen. And
the Bible is a sword. It divides. Jesus said, I have come to set the world on fire, and I wish it were already burning. I have a terrible baptism of suffering ahead of me, and I'm under a heavy burden until it is accomplished. Do you think I have come to bring peace to the earth? No, I have come to divide people against each other. And I will stop right there. But when I stand for the truth, you can pick and choose your scripture to try to make us look bad if you want to. But I've just explained to you what the Word is all about.
Anyone else?
Bless the Lord.
Bonnie Bullington, 317 Pope Stubblefield Street, Whitesburg. Yes, I'm back after missing some meetings for medical issues. I know it's brought a little bit of joy to some of you, I'm sure. You know, every time I come in this room, there's always something that goes on that just totally befuddles me. You talk about rules for us. You talk about us respecting you. But we see no two-way street, except from the 3 or 4 of you that actually are trying to do some good sitting up there. The rest of you, you don't care. Today, we heard a commissioner say, this is a courtroom. Yes, it's a courtroom, but this is a commissioner's meeting. It is not a court. It You need to realize, Commissioner Goins. And then Commissioner Shipley, you sit up there and you're quick to spout out about taking legal action. Well, we know how much you love to take legal action. But I'm telling you, at some point, you folks are gonna have to come down off your thrones and start doing the job that you were put up here to do. But I'm afraid when the election comes up, many of you people are not going to come back to sit up there and play God and put the taxpayers down and treat them like they're nobodies while you do whatever you want to do. Remember that election time, and please God, let those that have destroyed this county lose by a landslide, and I include my commissioner in that just as well. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Gwen Holden, 8150 Westport Drive. I want to invite y'all to my church next Wednesday night. I really do. I want to invite every one of you to my church next Wednesday night. I go to Faith Community Church next to the Sunderland Cemetery. And we're going to have a teaching in the Bible on the truth.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Tony. I'm going to touch base on a couple of things that has been mentioned, as well as the rules. You all put aside the 10-day rule like it means nothing. Like it means absolutely nothing. This isn't the first time. It happens like every single month. You all vote off the rule. So why can't the citizens vote off the rules? You don't follow the rules that you made for yourself because you think that it's worthless in your own mind. It's something that could just be voted off. My hat means no disrespect to any of you. I chose to wear the hat today because it was sunny and nice out. I'm not going to set it to the side. That's my choice. My choice is to wear my hat today. Bobby Hawn's phone rang. Nobody said a word. That's a rule. They have to be even. If you don't care about the rules and how they're applied to you, even though I'm not here doing this disrespectfully, I shouldn't care about what you all think about what's on my head. And I shouldn't have to worry about legal litigation for what's on my head. That's ridiculous. It's cowardly. Second, I want to bring up the EMS. I have been notified by numerous people about the EMS problem. About them either taking a long time to show up and then hearing that there's only one crew out there. That's a problem, okay? Because if any of you needed that and it didn't show up, or a loved one needed that, you all would be upset. So before you get upset and other people get upset, let's make something happen with that between the city and the county. That's something that needs to be addressed. Aren't we all about safety of the public? That's what we're here. That's what we live by. Everything is based on the safety. That's something that needs to be concerned and considered. This jail, we keep putting out money and money. He already said he's coming back. At what point do we top it? He said there's no ramifications for this board. They can charge whatever they want. That's what they're telling you. He came up here and he said, hey, basically you're handing me a blank check. Whatever I come back to you here for, you guys are stuck. You're screwed. You can't back out of it. Now's the time to think and make change on that. Bonds. Tim Horner, I would like to know why you are no longer, or your company is no longer permitted to write bonds in Hamblen County. I know you had a judgment, and I would like to know why AAA bonding has not fulfilled their contract with the county.
Appreciate your comments. Anybody else have any comments they want to share with us at this time? You have two announcements under item number 9 regarding the April commission meetings. I've got one announcement to add to that. The Finance Committee will meet Tuesday, April the 5th at 5 p.m. in the large courtroom to discuss responses to the Real Estate Services RFQ and to make a recommendation to the full committee. We stand adjourned.
What was that day, Howard?
April the 5th, Tuesday, April the 5th.